Rana Basharat Ali Khan calls for global solidarity to secure Syria's path to peace and justice after 14 years of devastation Geneva, the 15th of March 2025 as Syria marks 14 years since the onset of its catastrophic conflict. Rana Basharat Ali Khan, chairman of the international human rights movement IHRM, has issued an urgent appeal for unified global action to ensure an inclusive, sustainable transition grounded in justice and human rights. The call follows escalating violence in Latakia and Tartus provinces, where recent reports detail mass atrocities against civilians, including the Alawite community, underscoring the fragility of Syria's post-Assad era. Syria's suffering is a stain on humanity's conscience, declared Khan. What began as a cry for dignity became a vortex of brutality, sieges, chemical attacks, and systemic persecution. Today, with over 12 million displaced, hundreds of thousands dead, and countless families searching for the missing, the world must act decisively to end this cycle of despair. Khan emphasized that the fall of the Assad regime in December 2024 has not yet delivered stability. Fighting persists between the Syrian caretaker authority and remnants of the former regime, exacerbating a humanitarian crisis where 90% of the population lives in poverty. He condemned the caretaker authorities' delayed implementation of a constitutional declaration, urging it to serve as a bridge toward inclusive governance rather than a symbolic gesture. This is the moment for courage, not complacency, Khan stated. A credible transitional government must emerge, one that guarantees full political inclusion for women, ethnic minorities, and all marginalized groups. Transitional justice cannot remain an abstract ideal. It requires accountability for crimes against humanity and reparations for victims. The international human rights movement reiterated its demand for immediate protection of civilians, citing documented cases of enforced disappearances, torture, and aerial bombardments since March 2024. Khan highlighted the IHRM's ongoing efforts to amplify Syrian voices through grassroots advocacy and its global campaign for the ratification of a new constitution prioritizing civil liberties and equitable power sharing. Khan further warned that without international solidarity, Syria risks descending into renewed fragmentation. The lessons of Iraq and Aleppo must not be repeated. We urge all stakeholders to reject sectarian agendas and invest in reconciliation. Syria's future hinges on unity, not division. The international human rights movement, a leading global advocate for justice since 1998, remains committed to monitoring Syria's transition and ensuring compliance with universal human rights standards. Khan concluded, "History will judge us by our resolve to transform Syria's agony into hope. Let this be the year the world stands unequivocally with the Syrian people."